Welcome to the True Man Podcast. This is an invitation to radical reconstruction of a man's masculine heart and soul in a place of safe community where we dare to ask questions deep seated inside a man and explore ways to help you become a better man, a better son, a better dad, and a better spouse. Well, one of the reasons I do this show is because of my curiosity of what's going on in the world. So, those things that you hold deep seated inside a man, like I always say in my introduction, well, they strike me as curious. And I hope they strike you as curious too. And I hope that's why you show up on such a consistent basis on the True Man Podcast to really dig deep inside your inner man. Well, thank you for being with me here again this week. It's going to be another great show, really going to continue on with a theme we've been doing this year so far. Responsibility is what we're going to talk about today. The weight a true man chooses to carry. Now, isn't that interestingly worded? Because, we live in a world today where it's just kind of easy to pawn things off and not take responsibility for anything. But before I dive too deep into that, again, like I do every week, just want to encourage you. If you're on your phone right now, if you're listening to the podcast, it's okay if you go ahead and forward this on to a friend if you enjoy listening to the show and introduce them to the True Man community and what's going on. Of course, as always, you can go out to my website. That's where everything lands. Doing my best to try to keep that up to date. TrueManLifeCoaching.com. And the book's on there, True Man, True Ways, a roadmap of discovery to the masculine heart. And of course, you can sign up for our newsletter, the True Man Inner Circle. You want to be part of an inner circle, don't you? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Well, again, enjoy having you here. And today, want to touch on a word that I don't think gets talked about enough in this society that has really turned into a victimhood society, hasn't it? Who's the victim? Who can scream the loudest and be the loudest victim? But really, what successful people know is that life is about responsibility. Now, this is a word that I don't think men hear much anymore. We don't talk about it enough. Not because it isn't important. It is critically important. But I think, it's like a lot of words. It's like a lot of topics. It's uncomfortable. So let's talk about this word, responsibility, today. What role do you have in your life and the word responsibility? Well, we live in a time and a place where blame is cheap. Excuses are popular, and accountability, well, it just seems optional, doesn't it? A time when it's easier to point outward than look inward, or to look into the mirror. Easier to explain why something failed than to own where it may have fallen short and then, change it and fix it. And yet, despite all the noise going on out there, there's something deeply wired into the heart of a man that longs for responsibility, doesn't it? Not burden, not guilt, not shame, but ownership. Because let's face it, a man without responsibility, he feels a little lost, doesn't he? A man without responsibility, well, he feels restless, maybe even bored. A man without responsibility eventually feels useless. Over the past 2 weeks, again, on the True Man Podcast, we've talked about courage and we've talked about identity. Now, courage asks the question, will I step forward when fear is present? And identity asks the question, well, who am I when everything else is stripped away? Responsibility now asks the question every man must eventually answer. What has been entrusted to me, and will I own it? Now, again, we're living in a culture that, well, as much as I hate to say it, it feels like it rewards avoidance. Avoiding accountability, avoiding hard conversations, avoiding discomfort, avoid ownership, avoid consequence. If something goes wrong, someone else must be at fault, right? So easy to point the finger at the system, at the economy, at the government, at the company, at the culture, at the past, at your upbringing, and of course, at the circumstances. Now, hear me clearly. There are real injustices in the world, real challenges in the world, and real obstacles in the world, for sure. Now, this is not about ignoring reality. What this is about is refusing to live as a victim inside it, right? Because blaming others might explain your situation, but it is never going to transform it. And how can you be your best if you're busy blaming others and not working on the transformation of you? Responsibility is the moment when a man stops asking, whose fault is this? And starts asking, what is mine to own? Not afraid to go look in the mirror. And that shift really changes everything. You know, somewhere along the way, responsibility got reframed as oppression, as pressure, as something that steals joy. But you know, Scripture tells us a very different story, as it often does. You know, in Genesis, before sin ever entered the world, God gave Adam responsibility, did he not? We talk about it often on this show. He entrusted him with the garden, right? He just wanted a farmer. Not as punishment, but as purpose. He entrusted Adam in the garden for responsibility. His responsibility came before the fall. His responsibility came before shame, and his responsibility came before struggle. Now, responsibility is not the result of brokenness. It is the foundation of dignity. A man does not become strong by avoiding the weight in life. It's going to come anyway. He becomes strong by carrying the right weight well. This means you're going to have to learn from a lot of, past mistakes and transgressions. You're going to have to grow up a little bit. You're going to have to look yourself in the mirror. Because when a man carries responsibility with integrity, something incredibly powerful happens. Well, he finds meaning in his life. He finds direction in his life, and he finds clarity, and he finds purpose. How many of you are looking for purpose in your life? That means you're going to have to take a little bit of ownership for the things that have happened, good and bad. But let's be clear about something important. Responsibility is not blame, not finger pointing. Blame looks backward and assigns fault, doesn't it? Responsibility looks forward and assigns ownership. You see, blame says, well, this shouldn't have happened. And responsibility says, what will I do now? Blame keeps a man stuck while responsibility moves a man forward. Blame breeds resentment. You don't want to be that guy, do you? And responsibility builds strength. That's the man you want to be. And this matters deeply in a man's home. Because when a husband refuses responsibility, leadership doesn't disappear. It, in fact, shifts. When a father avoids responsibility, well, chaos fills the gap. Have you experienced that? And when a man avoids responsibility, someone else carries weight they were never meant to bear. And over time, that creates frustration, distance, and a quiet resentment in families. Have you seen this happen in your family? Have you seen it happen in other families? You know, a man's first and most sacred responsibility is his home. Not perfection, not control, not domination, but presence, integrity, and leadership. And responsibility in the home means owning your tone, owning your words, owning your reactions, owning your mistakes, and owning your growth. It means you need to be willing to say things like, I was wrong. I missed that. I should have handled that better. I need to do that better. You see, those words don't weaken a man, they strengthen his leadership because responsibility builds trust. And trust is the currency of every strong marriage and every healthy family. Now, you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. Your wife doesn't need a flawless man. You're not capable of it anyway. But what she does need is a responsible one. Your kids don't need some superhero. They need a father who shows them what it looks like to own choices, learn from failure, and keep moving forward. You see, responsibility teaches children resilience. Avoidance teaches them excuses. You don't want that kid. You know, work is another area, our careers, where responsibility has been watered down, don't you think? Strong work habits are not about hustle culture or grinding yourself into exhaustion. They're about integrity. What do you do when nobody's looking? See, a responsible man shows up on time, does what he says he will do, finishes what he starts, takes pride in his effort, learns from his mistakes, and grows in skill and character. Those are basic fundamentals to becoming a true man. Many were never taught. So again, responsible man shows up on time, does what he says he'll do, finishes up what he starts, takes pride in effort, learns from mistakes, and grows in skill and character, not because someone is watching, but because, well, it reflects who he is. And work is not just about income, by the way. It's about identity expressed through stewardship. And when a man works with responsibility, he experiences something many men are missing today: joy. What a beautiful word, an overlooked word, something missing in many of our jobs and careers. Because joy doesn't come from avoiding effort, it comes from meaningful contribution. And joy creates that discipline that will allow you to create that meaningful contribution. And here's a truth that may surprise you. Responsibility does not steal joy. No, 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 no. Quite the opposite. It produces it. Men are happiest when they know they matter, when they know they're needed, when they know they're contributing. And it's okay to talk about those things. Joy is not found in escape. That'll get you in trouble. It's found in engagement. A man who takes responsibility for his life doesn't feel trapped. He feels alive. Don't you want to feel that way? You want more of that, don't you? Because responsibility gives structure to freedom. And without responsibility, freedom, well, it turns into aimlessness. And with responsibility, freedom turns into purpose. Now, I know this is going to shock you when I say this. Okay, I hope you're sitting. Every man will fail. Now, that's not pessimism. It's reality. But the difference between a weak man and a strong man is not failure. Not at all. It's how they respond to it. You see, a weak man hides, a strong man owns it. And responsibility says this: I will learn from this. I won't waste this. I will grow from this. Failure handled with responsibility becomes a teacher. Failure avoided, well, it becomes a prison. And God is in the business of redeeming mistakes, not erasing them. Responsibility turns setback into stepping stones. You see, faith does not remove responsibility, it clarifies it. And scripture tells us, to whom much is given, much is required. That's not pressure, man. That's purpose. God entrusts responsibility to men he intends to shape. You can't have a testimony without a test. Don't forget that. Faith doesn't mean waiting for God to do everything. It means doing what is yours while trusting him with what isn't. A responsible man prays and then acts, not vice versa. He trusts and then steps forward. He believes and then leads. You know, if we want to rebuild what matters in our families, in our country, and in our communities, it's all about God, family, and country. It won't start with policies or platforms. In True Man Community, you're going to hear me talk a lot more about God and family and country in the coming weeks. It's something that we need to get back to, and it's going to start with men who take responsibility for their character, their homes, their work, their faith, and of course, their influence. You know, strong families come from responsible fathers. Strong marriages come from responsible husbands. And strong communities come from responsible men. Strong nations are built on the shoulders of men who refuse to pass the buck. History has never been changed by men who avoided responsibility. You're not going to see men out there being awarded for not taking responsibility. The greatest people in this country have taken responsibility. They've taken the hard road, and they've helped shape and build this country. And it's always been shaped by men who have embraced responsibility. So let me ask you honestly, where have you been blaming instead of owning? Where have you avoided instead of leading? Where have you waited instead of stepping up? And what responsibility has God clearly placed in your hands? Are you carrying the weight that isn't yours, or dropping weight that is? Because responsibility isn't about doing everything, man. It's about doing what's yours. Now, in closing, let me say this. Courage gets a man moving. Identity grounds him. Responsibility gives him something worth carrying. A man becomes truly strong when he stops asking what others should do and starts owning what he must. Responsibility isn't heavy when it's carried with purpose. It's freeing. So choose it. Carry it well. Lead with integrity and work with excellence. Love with presence and live with joy. Because the world doesn't need louder men, it needs responsible ones. And that's the kind of man the true man is. Exactly who God is calling you to be. Well, thank you for being here with me again this week. Really enjoyed having this conversation about responsibility. It's been a fun 3 weeks here. Such a great way to start up the year, talking about courage and identity and responsibility. All of these are important to becoming the man that you want to be, the true man that you want to be. And again, as we close today, I want to encourage you, you can go out to my website and sign up for the True Man Inner Circle newsletter, and or you can go to the show notes, click on it there. It's just a very quick, easy sign up, and you'll be able to be included in that weekly newsletter and stay up to date with all of the latest happenings in the True Man community. Well, thank you for being here this week. God bless you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a great review on any your favorite podcast channel that you listen to. And I want to wish you and your family the very, very best. It means a lot to me that you take the time to listen to the True Man podcast. And as I like to end every show, and it really is important, I don't want you to just go out and have an average day. I really do want you to have your best day ever. And I say that because we want you to better your best. We want you to be the best man that you can be. And if you're wondering what that is, by the way, and you want to talk with me about it, feel free to drop me an email at mike@truemanlifecoaching.com. You can get on my calendar from my website. And again, God bless you. Thank you for listening, and go out and make this your very, very best day ever.